purpose is something you choose. Number one, that purpose then drives how you show up in the world. Here's what I tell people. The most valuable gift that you can make the most money, have the most fun, and make the biggest difference in the world if you'll do the work of choosing the purpose that calls to you as you examine your life, and then go all in, creating the outcome that that purpose dictates. Because that's the most valuable thing you've got. It seems like the things that teach us most precious lessons are the ones where we're broken, busted, robbed, betrayed, hurt, sick, die, whatever it is. That's the stuff that lands and matters and causes the transformation.
Kellan Fluckiger, we're going to learn what it takes to build the ultimate life. How do you actually have it all?
Purpose is something you choose. Number one, that purpose then drives how you show up in the world. So the truth, best advice, you can have anything you want if you're willing to walk the road that goes there.
Purpose, prosperity, and joy. Let's join Kellan Fluckiger. So Kellan, your definition of success, how do you define it?
You know, that is a powerful and important question because it's radically changed today from where it used to be most of my life, okay? I wanted to make money, big cash, big house, big crap, get up in the company, own this, that, and the other. And you know what? I did all that. And I was freaking miserable. And in 2007, I started my life over again, and we'll do some details later, where I am today and what just makes me happy. I live every single day. And after I say this, you're not going to believe it, and I don't care. I live every day in what I call the ultimate life, a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. So success is loving every minute of your life, no matter what happens. That's all success is, and I have it, and my goal is to share that with 300 million people this year.
I do think, though, there's a point of achieving all of the stuff that I think we've almost got to go through that to get to the other side. What are your thoughts on that?
It seems that way. It seems like the things that teach us most precious lessons are the ones where we're broken, busted, robbed, betrayed, hurt, sick, die, whatever it is. That's the stuff that lands and matters and causes the transformation. When we haven't gone through the fire, it doesn't seem like it lands. So I would agree. I don't know that that's necessary, but it sure seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, we could literally do this whole podcast with you on how you achieved amazing business results, 30-year career, achieving all of those wonderful things, because that knowledge is in your head as well. But what we want to look at is that ultimate life. Where do you think, your definition shifted? You mentioned 2007. What happened that shifted the definition?
So all of us, and I'm going to get a little woo-woo here for a sec, all of us at different times feel nudges, feel intuition, inspiration, like we ought to do this and we should do that. And, that kind of stuff happens to us, right? And mostly we ignore it. And mostly we create reasons why we don't do it. And I did that like everybody else. So during my big 30-year career of achieving all that, I felt those things. I knew things were going wrong. I was married and divorced 3 times. I had substance problems. And when August of 2007 rolled around, I was a single dad for the 3rd time. 4 of my 10 kids were living with me. I was making a crap load of money again in my 4th career. And I was also a $3,000 a week cocaine addict. So that's where I was in August of 2007 when one of those divine interventions happened. It just so happens that this one was so loud, so noisy, and such a big 2x4 that it finally woke me up.
It's you say 2x4, and I love the old Money and You, the taps on the shoulder, the 2x4 or the Mack truck type thing. Sometimes it takes a Mack truck to the proverbial wake-up call. Why do you think it is that it takes such a massive thing for some people to wake up? Or maybe why did that take it for you to hit that wake-up call?
Yeah, I'll tell you why, and I'm happy to describe what happened. There's no secret there. I've written about it in one of my books. And The reason I think it took that is because I had ignored the subtle ones, even sort of big subtle ones like 3 failed marriages, self-sabotage and destroying careers that I had done multiple times. When I was at the top, I was like riding this roller coaster, and when I get way up there, somehow I didn't believe I belonged there, so I do stuff that would trash it. Burned it down is the phrase, right? And I was just repeating this pattern, and like it was getting desperate. I was way up high again. But what I also didn't tell you is 2 weeks before the divine intervention, I'd attempted suicide for the second time. So, it was getting to be do or die time. And so it took that because that's where I was. If I had had sense enough, and you or your listeners, if you have sense enough to hear them earlier, please do, because the big ones hurt. And they are big, and you crawl over broken glass on the way out. So it's not a badge of honor, it's a badge of stupid. But that's where I was.
I love it when my buddy Keith Cunningham wrote that book, The Road Less Stupid. And it's like, every now and again, we should all read that book and just remind ourselves we don't need to be that. So what then in your mind is the relationship then between success, failure? How do you see them go together?
Well, the first thing you have to do is own your life. We live with this idea that externalities define us. The weather's bad, the government's bad, the economy's bad, the wrong guy or the right guy got elected. The COVID came, 2008 crash, and or our partner just ripped us off of $2 million and burned the business down, or our life partner betrayed us, or whatever. We blame all those things for our lack of ability for success. And I'm going to flat out tell you, you're full of shit. You own your life, and that external stuff's going to happen. Believe me, I caused some of it, but waded through a boatload. And I still own my life. And it was finally when I sort of said, I slammed my fist, metaphorically, I'm done. I'm done giving credence to old stories, upbringing, all that stuff. I don't care. I'm done. We're going in this new direction. I don't even know where it goes. I don't know how much broken glass I got to crawl over, but I own this life, and I'm going to make it what I want, period. So that is step 1. You got to own it. Step 2 is then you decide where you'd like to go. And that has to be flexible because things are going to change. And it's not a surprise, because when you're looking at your life right now, it's from the point of view that you're at. So when that divine intervention happened in August of 2007, I knew I was done with everything I'd done before and I was starting over. But I was at the front end of a long journey that's been now 18 years. And I didn't know many things that I now am knowing and, continuing to know. So the thing I thought I was going to do was end the misery, and the stupidity, and the stupid. And I'm going to go down this road. And I don't know exactly where it goes, but I'm going to take control, adjust, and I'm going to go there. And when I said success, I redefined it. No longer owned or controlled by anybody else. No longer afraid of my own definition of success and happiness. I'm going to pursue what I want, and I'm going to go get that, and I'm going to make it work. That's what I decided. And then as I went down that road, as things began to improve and I did the work to, deal with decades of untreated depression and now addictions and a bunch of other stuff, I began to learn things and say, oh, crap, this stuff that I'm learning about myself could be really helpful to others. So that's when I started writing books and creating programs. It was because of what had happened to me as I went down that unknown road. And crawled over the glass and healed myself and learned things and decided, okay, the most powerful thing I can offer to the world isn't another widget, although there's fine, you can do that if you want. But for Kellan, the most powerful thing I could offer is the truth of the experience of owning your life and the growth that I then created and then moved forward to do that. And that's why I became an author. I've got 20 books. I've got coaching clients all over the place, et cetera, et cetera. And that became what I have to offer the world. And I get to do it with fun and joy and excitement every day.
50 years direction left. It's almost like, U-turn. Let me go back direction right and just see. You mentioned something that I think is really interesting, though, about you said, I've got to set the goals, and I didn't even know. I think one of the big challenges for people when they step into wanting to make the change is that they don't know what the new goal is because they don't know what the option is. They've got to start opening a few doors, I guess, checking through a few windows, reading a couple of books, or listening to podcasts like this to even get there. I mean, how did you and how do you now teach people to even get on that path of deciding who they want to be and where they want to go?
So you said the first thing that's the most important, and I'm going to slow way down and turn the volume down and get dramatic here for a sec. The most important thing is not the goals of money or product or anything else. Goal number one is, who are you? And that means not because somebody said so, without permission, without agreement between you and your creator, because you said so. Who are you? And I started with that. Because before, if I'd written those things, I am a drug addict, I am a liar, I am undependable. I listed a bunch of things and I'm like, holy crap, no. So I started thinking about what are the things that I want to be true? And some of them are already true. Like, okay, I'm created by God, whatever you perceive that to be. I'm a divine being. Well, that's true whether I screw it up or not. Okay, let's start there because I sure haven't been acting like one. So let's start with the first declaration of truth. I'm a son of God. Holy crap, just remembering that. Okay, what flows from that? Okay, I am my word. I speak only truth. I do what I say. I am who I seem. Oh man, what a departure. And so just starting with, and I have a whole process and thing called a PTAC, personal truth and commitment, that I work with people, and that's the process. It's in the book Living with Purpose and Power, which is a book that I wrote about how to create earth-shattering, light the walls on fire documents that you use every day that ooze out of your pores. There's the place to start, because until you decide who you are, I don't care what you do. What matters most is who is the guy or the gal doing the thing, creating the business, entering the conversation, working on a relationship. Who are you? What are the characteristics that you have chosen?
It's a scary thing, and I know every year I spend 2 days with friends, clients, where I take them through that question, who do you wanna be? How do you wanna define yourself? What values, what belief structures do you wanna hold true for yourself? And I think a lot of the time it's easy to get lost in, I don't know. I don't know. And a lot of I don't knows is really, I don't really want to look at that. How do you hold your toes to the fire though and really push yourself? Like it took you had to have that real negative. Maybe if I'm not in that negative space, I'm just in a space of I kind of know I need to do this. How do you push someone, Kellan?
So I don't. I invite them. And my question to you is, are you happy? Yes or no? And if that ugly, sort of squishy, not really, yeah, I got a lot of stuff I should be. If that's where you are, then the next question is, how bad do you want this? Because it's not easy. It's blood on the floor, and no one can decide this for you. And if you've spent your life living it by other standards of wealth or performance or activity, you're going to have to do some work, because I'm not going to let you use any of those. And here's what, when people tell me a lot, like nearly everyone, yeah, I read a book or I've been to a conference where I created some kind of a statement. I am a, loving blah, blah, blah. And they say a few words, maybe a couple of sentences even, right? And then I say, that's great. If I watch you go through your day, do I see that in every conversation? When you stand in the mirror in the morning, do you know that? Does it bleed out of your eyes? When you say your document or your statement, does it make you weep? And then they act like they don't even understand what I'm talking about. And then I'll just say really simply, throw it away because you haven't said anything yet. When you get to the place where you say stuff that nobody has to agree or listen, but for you, that lights your soul on fire, and you literally not just know it, but it's in every cell of your body, and you weep as you say it because of the power. Okay, now we're somewhere. And if you don't want to do the work to get there, come back when you're ready, because that's how you create a life.
There's something that the words "you can." I heard you say it once about it. It reminded me of something that it's not about have this or this or this. The ultimate life philosophy of yours is like, it's more like an and philosophy. You can have that and that. You don't have to choose between being successful and living a purposeful life. You can have that and type thing.
I call the ultimate life a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. I pick those words carefully. Anybody can use whatever words they want. Purpose means I have chosen. Some people act like they're going to go find a purpose on a safari. They're going to dig it up in the yard, or it's going to come in an Amazon box. You're going to have a purpose when you pick one. And always, it's going to come from your life experiences. You're going to have gone through and learned from things that make you yearn to do whatever it is you want to do in the world. And so you choose a purpose. And yeah, you're going to adjust it and refine it and make it more powerful. I certainly have. But purpose is something you choose. Number one, that purpose then drives how you show up in the world. Here's what I tell people. The most valuable gift that you can make the most money, have the most fun, and make the biggest difference in the world if you'll do the work of choosing the purpose that calls to you as you examine your life, and then go all in, creating the outcome that that purpose dictates. Because that's the most valuable thing you've got. It is the truth of your being. We can all create products and services about that thing over there. And maybe you'll make a lot of money and do cool. It's not going to be the best you could do because it isn't the truth of your life. And the truth of your life, I simply mean examining your experiences, your gifts, your skills, and figuring out how to weave those together into your MEO, most effective offering. And that, of course, is worth the most because it's the best that you've got.
Purpose, prosperity, and joy.
Yes. Prosperity means exactly what it means. And I use prosperity instead of the word cash, and even though it includes it, because prosperity means prosperity in relationships. One of the things that happened in August 2007 when life changed is some part of the miracles that happened at the time was I began to learn how to be a person, how to tell the truth, how to have a friend, how to be a friend. And so as part of that situation, I was then, in a divine way, that's part of the story, introduced and directed literally to a relationship that now I have been married now for 17 plus years, and it is a holy thing. It is a sacred, holy partnership. And I look back at the marriages that I had before, and I realized I didn't even know how to do that. I didn't know how to have a friend, be a friend. I didn't know how to tell the truth. I didn't know how to do what a partner needs to do. And so prosperity in relationship, prosperity in cash, prosperity in influence and power, all of it. And joy is what flows from that. When you know every single day you're living on purpose and you're making a difference and you love yourself furiously because you're doing all you can, joy is the automatic and consistent byproduct.
Got it. So, Kellan, I'm getting this sense that there was a learning of how to be a good human almost. Like I'm getting that sense.
Straight up. Up till August of 2007, I had a story about what I was supposed to do. I believed it with all my heart. I lived into it. I did really well. I created lots of really high-paying jobs. I was miserable because I was denying that true thing that I wanted to do and be in the world. And so I then didn't know how to have relationships. I failed at those. I said 3 failed marriages. And I turned to drugs and alcohol in ridiculous quantities. And it got so bad that, exes and others blamed me for everything. And at the point where you look in the mirror and you believe with all your heart that you really are the worst thing there is, the cause and the root of all evil, and there's no more deflections and no more thing that you can say, you get to a place that I give a name because that feeling can't be named. I call it the name of the black. You get to that place, and that's the end.
I read to my kids a lot of the Dr. Seuss books, and my favorite is the "Oh, the Places You'll Go," and you gotta love that part of "Oh, the Places You'll Go," where you get to the dark place and the waiting place and all of those sorts of things. But let's flip it over now to the other side of the equation. Keys to a good relationship. Let's start there. What are uh, the Kellan keys to a good relationship? What are the top few things?
Number one, when she and I, like this, you don't know the story, and I haven't told you yet, but it's unbelievable and incredible. When she and I decided we were going to do this, barely knowing each other, that we were just going to go do this because both of us felt divinely inspired to do it. Here's key number one. I said, okay, if we're going to do this, then this is ride or die, baby, because I'm not doing this again. Blood on the floor, ride or die. Straight up. And she just said, I'm in. And so that bulletproof commitment is step one. When you have that, then everything else is in the context of, okay, this didn't work. We have disagreement on that. That's fine. But my commitment to you and our relationship, we got together as a divinely appointed direction. So God's not an idiot. And if that's the direction, then it's on us to figure this out. And we're going to do that because we said so.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine just recent, and something happened. He messed up a couple of things, and we over the years have learned to use the term brother with each other. You know how that happens between men, you know? And in Australia, we use the term mate. You know, this is my mate. Well, he messed up a few things. He says, I understand if you don't want to. And I said, no, you don't understand. You're my brother. And same as my other brothers, Craig and Jason, who are my birth brothers. I don't get rid of them just because they messed up some things or just because we disagreed on some stuff. And I don't get rid of you just because you made some stupid choices. It's like we're here and we have to work it out. And I think that's a commodity in relationships today that we need to be very clear on, that working through things is a big part of what makes a successful relationship. So
I agree. So that's part one. Number one, as I said, I said, this ride or die, I'm doing this. The second thing is in part of my daily creation document, which, I have memorized and woven into my DNA. And my wife, my angel, her name is Joy. And so part of my purpose, prosperity, and joy, right? I'm married to Joy. All right. So part of my document that is as sacred as I am a son of God is I am that I love Joy with everything that I am. Joy is the love of my life and eternity. I love the grace, beauty, and brilliance that is Joy with all my being. Joy is my song, my balance, and the light in my heart. And I repeat that with intensity and purpose every single morning. And when I start my day from that place, I don't care what happens.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that just this, the passion I can feel from you in that, but also just the wording. As a coach, I listen to languaging very clearly. And you don't say, I love Joy with all my heart. You say, I love Joy with all my being. There's such a difference right there. Such a difference. Crazy, crazy level of difference.
There is, and I've just chosen to do that. And that's the thing, that nobody told me to do that. I decided that's who I am. I am that I have done that. I give that level because I said so. And what I want to leave with you and others is that the most powerful words in the language are not, I love you or anything like that. They are very simple. Because I said so. period. Not because I said so, but when you have a thing that you are committed to, and because I said so is the only reason, that's invincible.
Well, hey there, and thanks for listening. I've noticed that 78% of you are brand new, which means you haven't hit the subscribe button yet. By subscribing, you help us bring on even better guests, better quality content, and serve you better with even more podcasts. So please hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second. It makes a huge difference. If you support us, we're going to support your success and help you achieve big success together. So, what is the new Kellan Fluckiger success formula now, not the one from 30 years ago in the crazy times, but today? How would you suggest that if someone said to you, okay, what makes me successful today? Is it the passion, follow that? Or is there more to it than that? Or are there some other
There's a
things I
lot
got
more.
to get into it?
So it's very simple. I mean, it's very hard. I won't pretend it's easy. It's simple and it's hard. Here it is. Do the work to create, I call it a document, a PTAC, personal truth and commitment document. I don't care what you say in it, but do the work so that you are committed at the level that you have seen me committed, that you have decided, because you said so, this is who I am. We come into this world with nothing. Okay, we're going to die and leave with nothing. And the only thing we're going to present to the Creator when we go back is what we've made out of ourselves. That's it. And a choice about what that's going to be is the place to start. So that's number one, create such a thing, whatever work you need to do it. The second thing is, okay, cool. I have a cool thing that if I read it to somebody or myself, it's impressive. It won't do any good unless it's part of your daily creation process. So if that's who I've decided I am, then the next question, I mean, God, for whatever reason, created us that we sleep away a third of our lives. So we die every night and wake up every morning. Fine. I'm an Olympian in life. And I can't imagine any Olympic athlete warming up after the game, after the event. So every day is my event. And I want to be at my best. Why? Because I said so. I want that. So I have a daily creation process. It's 2.5 hours. And I use my documents, my declaration, and my purpose to create the being every morning without fail, no exceptions, no excuses, that is the embodiment of those choices. And that preparation then allows me to do things 5 times as fast and as much as anything I'd ever be able to do otherwise, and with the kind of power that I have. And I have it because of the preparation. So those are the two most important things. Everything else after that, a series of formulas or steps or activities, they're important, but they don't count. Or they do, but at 20% or 40% effectiveness, if you haven't chosen to be the most awesome version of yourself every day. And why would you throw a day away? Like, why would you say, screw it, today's nothing? I don't know. I mean, if you're 20, you can decide that. I started this when I was 52, and I'm like, you know what? And I'm now 69. I'll be 70 later this year. I'm not going to do that with any day. Every single day, I want to be in my Olympic form because I said so. That's who I choose to be. So those are the two most important things. And then from there, then the question is, okay, how do you want to walk through the world as that master person? I want to be a doctor. I want to be an attorney. I want to be a coach. I want to be I want to be a speaker. I want to be a podcast host. Good. Let's get you to the most awesome level of self. Now, from that place of ideation and creation, what do we create?
I have a question that's just bouncing in my head. I have two of my kids are now in their early 20s. How many times in life do you feel that someone will go through that sort of phase of almost recreating themselves, I guess, or redefining themselves as, Is it a once-off thing, or do we do it multiple times? I'm almost asking for myself, I guess.
I'd say it's refined. When I hadn't taken, see, it depends. If I haven't taken ownership of my life and I live in the, I was raised to do this, or I would told to believe that, or gee, I've always done this, or society expects that. When I live in that, decisions based on that foundation are weak, and they will crumble, and they will bring you rapidly and regularly to the chasm of what the frick's going on here. Okay. And they'll bring you to that often. When you decide, I'm going to take control of my life, and I don't care what anybody else says or does, this is who I'm going to be. And that doesn't mean you throw away all those things. If you decide, I'm going to do this, you may include many of the things you've been told, but now they're included with a stamp that says, I own this. Screw everybody else. I own this. I was told to be honest. I didn't own that. Now I say, I am my word. Damn it, I am my word. Why? Because I own that. So what happens when you own it and you create that, and you ask about how many times you recreate, when I do my daily creation process, I test it every day. Is this still making me weep? Does it light my soul on fire? Do I need to adjust it? Is there something that I've heard or seen during the day that makes, I just added a word to a sentence there yesterday, because I heard something and I thought, that resonates actually more. So I'm going to put that in there. And we're not perfect. We're going to grow this mountain without a top. So the idea that it's one and done is stupid. And if you're doing that, you're stupid, because we're not done developing. Otherwise, what's the point of tomorrow?
Yeah, it was a philosopher who said, a poem is never finished, it's just abandoned. It's like that theory of we've never finished developing who we want to be. We just keep adding to, chiseling away, add a little more, take a little away. Got it.
So I think you can do it. Sometimes the adjustments are major. So you have a illness. In 2018, 11 years after the first one, I died. I had a flatlined in the ICU. I had a near-death experience. I wrote a couple books about that. So it didn't change everything, but it certainly emphasized and readjusted some things. So those are big things. You can have small things that make small adjustments that you own. And every one of these is something you own. And it is that ownership that gives it power. And so you're going to do it as many times as you need to. I look at it every day and say, is this still the truth of the being I want to be in the world, have on my tombstone, and present to God when I get there, whatever that is? I'm going to be this thing, and I'm going to be as okay with that.
Got it. Love it. Hey, Kellan, I always ask every guest at the end of the show, what's the best quote you've ever read, or even the best advice anyone ever gave you on the subject of success? Not your own stuff, but something someone else gave to you, or something you read.
You know what? The thing that pops in my mind is a repeated theme through scripture, through self-help books, through Napoleon Hill, through all kinds of things. And in scripture, it said, whatever you ask for, the Father, in the name of Jesus, you can have. Napoleon says, think and grow rich. Other people say, you create with your mind, as a man thinketh, so is he. I was just reading another book by some guy named Vadim Zayland. It's called Reality Transurfing. I read another book by a Harvard PhD called The Science of Creating Miracles. Here is the truth. You can create anything you want. You can fight with that truth, you can ignore it, or you can argue with it, and all you'll do is create garbage. Or you can own it and create what you want. We don't have a wand. What we do is we have a problem with the time frame, but nothing in the universe creates instantaneously. So the truth, best advice, you can have anything you want if you're willing to walk the road that goes there.
You're on the Big Success Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars. Hit the show notes. Kellan, his stuff is amazing. Read, study, learn, do all the things. We'll be back next week with more of your success.
You've been listening to the Big Success Podcast with the #1 business coach in the world, Brad Sugars. To learn more about how to achieve business and personal success, as well as how to level up or listen to past episodes, visit www.bradsugars.com.